Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Simply Mama Cooks. I'm Angelica. Today I am going to show you one of the easiest stir fries I make. This is so budget friendly, it comes together quick, and it's so delicious. Let me show you how I make it. Okay, so to start, I'm going to prep my ingredients. Here I have like 3 or 4 scallions that I needed to use. It's kind of like the last of the bunch. I'm going to chop the green tops and place that in a separate bowl from the whites. You want to do this because the whites are going to go into the stir fry first, and then you kind of garnish with the green tops. So I'm chopping up the scallion whites, and if I didn't have scallion, I'd add a little bit of like white or yellow onion. I do that sometimes. Okay, put that in a bowl unsuccessfully. And now on to my Roma tomatoes. Use the tomatoes, like hothouse tomatoes work for this. I have Roma on hand all the time, and I split it right in half, and then you remove that little stem piece from the top, and then you slice right down the middle, long ways, and then you kind of like cut it at an angle into chunks. Sometimes I even stir fry this in just like quick, thick slices. It just depends. So essentially, I am making a very popular Chinese or Cantonese dish of a tomato egg stir fry, but it's really not a traditional or authentic recipe that I'm showing you. It's kind of like the convenient way I like to make this. There are definitely more traditional techniques to making this, so I suggest, kind of search Google or YouTube to see a more authentic version. This is kind of what I just do in my home, and it's really tasty. So I'm just going to continue chopping and prepping my Roma tomatoes. Okay, this goes onto a plate or in a bowl, and that is prepped. So the next part of this recipe is kind of like a sauce. So in a bowl, I'm going to add around 2 teaspoons of light soy sauce. Here I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of chicken bouillon powder. I'm also going to add some sugar. I started with a 1/4 teaspoon, but in all I used 1/2 teaspoon. And now I'm going to add like a 1/4 cup to a 1/3 cup of water. Actually, I think I used a 1/4 cup, but I think a 1/3 cup goes better with this recipe. And 2 teaspoons of cornstarch. And essentially you made a sauce/slurry. Okay, give that a really good mix. And this is also going to go into the stir fry. I really love the flavor of the stir fry. It's just one of my favorites. I make it all the time. Okay, so I'm going to crack my eggs in a bowl, and you'll want to beat and scramble them in the bowl. I'm actually making a late lunch, early dinner for my husband and I. My kids already ate.
Can I have some too?
You change your mind? Okay, yeah. That's fine. This always happens. So I'm going to add an extra egg right into the bowl. That'll be enough for 3 people. And like I said, if you want to double this to serve good portions for 4 people, do so. It makes a great dinner. Here I'm going to add another tomato. Okay, so you'll want to preheat a pan or a wok. I'm just using this electric skillet. I'm adding some cooking oil, maybe like a 1.5 tablespoons right into the preheated pan. And I'm going to go in with the scallion whites first. You also can mince a clove of garlic to go into the mix. I don't know, I just like the onion flavor in this stir fry, but garlic also works. So give that a quick stir fry. And at this point, you'll want to make sure you have a preheated pan to work with. Now going in with my chopped tomato. I want to mention that if you are adhering to a more traditional or authentic tomato egg stir fry, essentially you would cook the egg first, remove it from the pan, and then saute the tomatoes until they kind of break down and release a lot of their moisture. But I like a firm tomato in this, so that's why I'm kind of going rogue with this recipe here. So a little more oil, and now I'm going to add the egg. And I add it to one side of the pan because I sort of want it to cook on its own before I start mixing it into the egg. And it's also worth noting that there are so many ways to make this Chinese stir-fry inspired tomato egg dish. This is just kind of what I do in my home. Okay, so once the eggs kind of start to cook, Essentially, that's when I'm just going to start pushing them around the pan. And at some point, I will be mixing them with the tomatoes. But already this smells fabulous. And like I said, if you have 1 tomato and 2 eggs, or 2 tomatoes and 1 egg, work with this stir fry. It totally works. You can easily make this for 1 person. For those of you that are busy, that have busy jobs, busy lives, and come home and want to cook for yourselves, this is such a versatile stir fry. So I'm going to move the camera closer here because I want you to see what's going on in the pan. And already it's almost done. So what I'm going to do is sort of start folding and mixing the tomato and egg together. And I like the egg to be kind of completely cooked before I add the sauce. So I'm just going to move that around. And at some point I will move all of the egg and tomato to one side of the pan. And I'm going to add a little more cooking oil. And then I'm going to add that sauce, mix it in, and then it'll be done. And that's it. You can eat just like this. Some people like to garnish and add sesame oil. You can do that as well. So I'm just going to continue stir frying this. But I also want to mention that essentially you can cook this as little or as much as you like. Some people like everything cooked through. Some people really like creamy, undercooked eggs is what I call it, but it really is up to you and to your preference. So I've added some extra cooking oil to the pan, and in goes the sauce. And you want to make sure you're working with like a medium to medium high heat. You don't want the pan to get cold when you're doing the stir fry. Essentially, this is why people work with really hot woks when they do this. So everything's simmering and sizzling in the pan, and essentially you can see right in the pan that this sauce is already thickening. So I'm going to start mixing it in with the egg and tomato. And within seconds, this is done. And it smells amazing. If you are a fan of egg foo young, this kind of has sort of like the same flavor profile when you have egg foo young and the sauce or the gravy that goes with it. It's kind of like the same sort of flavor profile. Texturally, no, but the flavor is there. This is really one of my favorites. I can't tell you how quick and easy, delicious, and budget-friendly this is. I make this all the time, even if it's just for myself. Okay, so this is pretty much done. So now I'm going to garnish with the green tops of the scallions, and it's time to dig in. And dare I say, if I were by myself, I would just eat this right out of the pan. And I'd probably eat this all by myself. But I am going to serve this with rice to make it a bit more hearty as a meal. And there you have it. One of my favorite simple, easy stir fries. I've got my rice, so now I'm just going to add a couple scoops of this amazing stir fry. I think the amazing part, some of you might look at this and go, what is this? Or why is this amazing? I think for me personally, because it comes together so quick, I always have a lot of pantry staples and eggs, tomatoes. Essentially, it's a good source of protein, and tomatoes are not super expensive, so it makes a great, quick, delicious meal. Okay, so I garnished with some scallions, and it's time to dig in. And let me just say this. This may not look like much to you, but this recipe is one of my favorite stir fries, and it also goes on my comfort food list. So good. Please give this a try.